What you're seeing right now is the trailer of what was supposed to be an upcoming survival horror game. Announced in April of 2021, Abandon was the next big survival horror title, taking inspiration from Silent Hill and other games in the same genre. But something about the game felt off from the very start. There wasn't much disclosed in the trailer itself. The narration didn't sync with the gameplay, but mainly, there was no big marketing or well-known company behind it. A new exclusive game from a company no one had ever heard of before, Blue Box Game Studios. The big question being, why was Sony backing an infamous studio with no proven track record? As the project gained more popularity, a number of theories and possible explanations started to surface over the internet. From people stating that the title was a secret project by Hideo Kojima, to the game having connections with the Silent Hill franchise, all convinced by one possibility, that the game truly existed. And yet, it never did. Founded in April of 2014 by Hasan Karaman, Blue Box Game Studios introduced itself as an independent video game development studio. The name, according to their website, is an acronym for Best Level User Experience, an ambition that resonates deeply within the gaming community. But from the very beginning, everything was weird. The studio, being a small, relatively unknown developer based in the Netherlands, had no major releases or even a proven track record of successful game development. In fact, if you look at their history, you'd find mostly a series of ambitious promises, big announcements, but most of these games never even came out. Before Abandon was even a concept, Blue Box had been involved in multiple projects that were either cancelled or never fully materialized. Games like Rewind, Voices of the Past, The Whisperer, and Lost Tapes were all announced with great ambition, but ultimately disappeared without much explanation. Hasan Karaman, being the founder of the studio, had a minimal online presence, and while he claimed to have a background in game development, there's little evidence to support that. Karaman's earliest known project was S.O.L.I.D, a mobile game that was briefly listed on the App Store before being removed. Described as a tactical shooter, it failed to gain any traction by the community itself, and there's very little evidence of its existence. Following that, Karaman attempted to launch a horror game called Rewind, Voices of the Past in 2015. The project was supposedly being developed in collaboration with the publisher, but it too disappeared before reaching any significant development milestones. Similarly, Whisperer and The Lost Tapes were both announced but never got released. One of Karaman's most significant projects was The Haunting: Bloodwater Curse, which was once again supposed to be a survival horror game. The game was listed on Steam under the Blue Box name, but development was eventually handed over to a different studio called Create Q Interactive, much after Blue Box failed to deliver anything significant. Even after this transfer, the game was never fully released, further adding to the mounting suspicion surrounding Blue Box legitimacy. If you look closely, you'll find a prevalent, repeating pattern here. Ambitious announcements, crowdfunding attempts, and then complete silence. Yet, despite this track record, Blue Box Game Studios remained under the radar until Abandon was finally announced. On April 7th, 2021, PlayStation's official blog posted an announcement trailer about a new cinematic survival horror game named Abandoned. With it, a short announcement trailer of about 1 minute and 39 seconds was uploaded on YouTube, featuring a dark, desolate landscape, which seemed an attempt to imitate the basics of survival horror themes. As the trailer garnered more views and various articles and blogs started covering it, people started to become skeptical about its existence. Although the graphics looked promising, the confusion was mainly regarding the little to no information about the game's studio. This marked the starting of multiple speculations and theories, one of the most and widely acclaimed being that Abandon was actually a secret project from the game designer Hideo Kojima. Kojima is known for his marketing stunts and had previously pulled a similar trick with Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, where he created a fake studio called Moby Dick Studios. But then, an even more mysterious detail emerged, which deepened the speculation even further. It was noticed that the name Hasan Karaman shared the same initials as Hideo Kojima, which made players also think that this had a direct connection with Silent Hill, and this might actually be a secret Kojima project. This also explained the uncertainty spreading around the Blue Box Game Studios, and even Hasan Karaman himself, that they were nothing more than an elaborate setup by Kojima. This theory gained so much strength and popularity that an entire subreddit was created. Here, Silent Hill fans analyzed every detail, every post, and every word, searching for the truth behind Abandon. While Blue Box tried to deny these speculations and connections, the more they tried to deny, the more people became convinced that this was part of a secret marketing strategy. Karaman's confusing tweets, sudden deletions, and refusal to provide concrete details about the game only made the situation worse. At one point, he even teased an image with blurred out letters, which fans deciphered as spelling out Silent Hill, which was later claimed to be a misunderstanding. But by then, the damage was done. At this point, the situation was much worse than it seemed. The studio knew that people were becoming more skeptical and that this could possibly harm their reputation and mainly the hype around the game. So, to maintain interest, Blue Box made a bold claim. They were developing a real-time experience app for the PlayStation 5, which would allow players to see trailers and teasers for Abandoned rendered in real time on their consoles. Obviously, this was unheard of, as no game had ever done this before. But when the app finally launched on August 10th, 2021, it was an utter disaster. Instead of an actual gameplay reveal, there was nothing more than simple footage of a man walking on a wooden floor. This footage had already been posted online days before. There was no interactive element, no deeper look, just a brief clip that provided no new information. The backlash was immediate and severe. Fans who had bought into the hype felt betrayed, and many began suspecting that Abandon was not even a real game at all. Theories, which were initially asking questions about whether it was a Kojima project, shifted towards saying that the game was just another scam. At this point, Blue Box was in serious trouble. All the theories started to spiral out of control. After all the public disappointment and all the criticism Blue Box received, in August of 2021, they made another promise. They announced a playable prologue that would serve as an introduction into the main Abandoned game. As more people became aware of the studio's questionable past, studio CEO Karaman attempted to do some damage control. He appeared in interviews and live streams trying to reassure that Abandon was in fact a real game and still in development. But each time, his explanations only seemed to raise more questions. His demeanor was nervous, and it often seemed as if he was unprepared to answer direct questions about the game's progress. Before all this could settle, Blue Box claimed that their YouTube channel had been hacked. According to them, scammers had taken over their account and were sending fake emails, trying to trick people into pre-ordering Abandon. They warned followers not to fall for this scam, emphasizing that they were not taking any pre-orders. On October 17, 2021, Blue Box released a statement on Twitter revealing that they were increasingly suffering from harassment, doxing, and death threats directed at their company's employees. Although the reason for this harassment was never officially disclosed, many thought it to be due to the bad reputation the company gained due to the game's delays and the conspiracy theories circulating on the internet. Finally, the last interaction from Blue Box on social media was March 31st, 2022. They insisted that Abandoned Prologue would be released once it was ready. But, again, there were inconsistencies in Karaman's statements. In various interviews and social media posts, he provided conflicting details about the size of his team. Sometimes he claimed Blue Box had a dedicated staff of experienced developers, while other times he suggested that the team was still being assembled. No verifiable list of employees ever surfaced, and no major game developers ever publicly acknowledged working with Blue Box. What made things even stranger was that Karaman often made vague claims about partnering with major industry figures, yet none of those claims could ever be verified. The last known update about Abandoned came on March 16, 2022, when some assets were leaked on Reddit, revealing a drastic change from the game's initial design concepts. By late 2022, Blue Box all but vanished from social media. Their website remained untouched, their Twitter account inactive. As of today, there are literally no updates, no trailers, and no signs of actual game development. Fans who had once been excited about Abandon had now turned on the studio, calling it one of the biggest pranks in gaming history. There are still questions about the actual existence of Blue Box Game Studios. Abandon was never released, and it seemed like it never will. Or at least, we may never know.